So this is how we're going to close the trailer. It's essentially the same step as opening it. What we got to do first is we're going to take our bars here. We're going to pull the tarp a little bit closed. So we want to take these bars with these straps in here. We want to line them up inside of these grooves here and make sure they're all the way down. We're going to do the same on the other side. Make sure it's nice and tight in there. It's not going to go anywhere. So next, what we're going to do, we're going to take our winch bar and we're going to put it in this lock right here. And we'll start turning it. So in order to get nice firm tightness on the front of this tarp, we're going to go back and forth between each side until it's nice and closed. And I forgot to mention that we want to do this process starting with the front of to close it, we want to start with the front of the tarp and work our way back, rather than when we open it and where we start in the back and work our way front. So it's essentially going in reverse as the way we open it up. So when we're closing this up, we want to make sure it's nice and tight when we do it, and that we're not going to have any looseness, kind of like rolling up a strap almost. You want to make sure it's nice and secure. So a step that seems to sometimes be missed, or that we've just kind of noticed, is that when you want to close up the front here of the tarp, you want to make sure it's nice and tight. And you want to make sure you have a nice even gap from the top to the bottom. Because if you don't, then the tarp's not going to close all the way in the front, and it's going to leave that gap open, but it's also not going to close very well in the back either. And the reason because of that happens is because those straps inside of there get wound really loose inside of the cranking mechanism inside of there. So we want to make sure that this is nice and tight, has a nice even gap. That way the tarp in the back will close and the whole tarp system will be nice and tight and secure. So now that we have the tarp all the way back, now we're going to close up the back section. We're going to take our tensioning tool, and what we're going to do is we're going to put these 8 arms in their slots. So you see that little circle up there? That's going to fit right into this groove here, and that's going to pull this tarp backwards. So to do that, you just line it up and you'll crank it lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. Sometimes you gotta pull the tarp a little bit. There we go. So now that those are in the channels like they need to be, now we're going to tighten up the back. So to do that, you just reverse it, so righty-tighty, and you'll crank it back. So the next step, now that the tarp is all nice and tight, to make sure that it doesn't flap in the wind, we have these cross straps here in the back. This just puts a little bit extra tension on here so that it doesn't flap in the wind and, you know, wreck the tarp. So the most crucial thing about this that we like to do is we put it in an X, but the X in the middle where the straps are is actually not touching. So you just have to line them up just right. So you'll see in the middle here, there's actually a little bit of a gap in between that X. That's what you want to have. You don't want to have the straps touching because otherwise they'll rub together and they'll break. But another thing too is we don't want to have too much tension on these straps. You want to have just a little bit, because if you get them too tight, then that's going to put too much stress on the tarp. So right here is about as maximum of play as you want here on this strap. If you go too much tighter than this, it's going to put a lot of tension on that tarp. So the final step here is we're going to bring the back flap down and tighten it up. And just roll it down. This is the very last step of closing this trailer. So you want to make sure these bars go behind these little flaps here. That's going to keep this in place. We also want to make sure our Velcro is nice and tight and centered going up. Give it a little pat. Then we're going to take our straps here and we're going to close it up. So these ones here go to the top on both sides. And then we got two of them here for the bottom. Those go here. And that is how you close a Conestoga trailer.